How to Tap into Inspiration from Your Soul by Jennifer Crystal Johnson. www.mindfulhealingpress.com. Inspiration can be a fickle and indecisive lover. She never seems to want to grace you with her presence when you have the time to give her your undivided attention, but the second you're driving or in the shower, she wants to come out and play. You feel amazing, keeping the idea in mind and allowing your thoughts to run with it with some limitations due to your circumstances, and vowing you'll write this idea down the moment you have access to a pen and paper or can focus on your phone without crashing your vehicle. Without fail, you'll be determined and convinced that you'll remember, but when the pen and paper appear in front of you, the idea is nowhere to be found. You rack your brain frantically only to come up empty. What if I told you that you could tap into inspiration anytime you choose to, because inspiration comes directly from your inner being or soul, and what you're tapping into is really source energy? Let's explore this concept of inspiration more fully and cover a few ideas for getting inspired on purpose, anytime you want to, by aligning yourself with the vibrational frequency of inspiration. As someone who thrives on creating and being creative in numerous ways, I have had this experience of forgetting ideas on many occasions and completely understand the frustration that can bring. The thing is that getting frustrated often results in creative blockages for long periods of time, and this is due to the vibrational and emotional energy state that you find yourself in while you're frustrated. Inspiration vibrates at the frequency of excitement, creativity, flow, love, and light, while frustration is a much lower vibrational state. Remember that it all begins from within, so your emotional state of being is an excellent indicator of whether it's a good time to try to coax out some inspiration or not. That's not to say that you can't tap into inspiration even while you're in a lower frequency vibrational state. I do this quite often, actually, simply because I want to get out of the negative or heavier feelings as quickly as possible, especially if it's something pointless such as worry. Worry is a negative or undesirable projection into a future that hasn't arrived yet, based on fears we're brainwashed into having because of past experiences and varying degrees of familial, societal, and cultural conditioning. Some people might say that not worrying is a sign of selfishness and irresponsibility if they're too grounded in the physical time-space reality. But from a spiritual perspective and with an understanding that energy is the only thing that makes up everything in existence, it is actually more selfish and irresponsible to worry. This is simply because of the effect worrying has on your vibrational and emotional state of being, and therefore on the way your physical experience manifests, as well as on the collective consciousness. Too much worrying can actually pull you into a cycle of self-fulfilling prophecy, because you see what you seek at the core of your energy-based state of being, not from the conscious level of your mind. This is why inner work is so important, so that you can peel back your layers of epiphany and raise your level of conscious awareness and therefore your vibration. Just as you can redirect and soften the intensity of your negative or fearful thoughts, you can also raise your vibrational frequency to meet with inspirational energy so that you may jump into inspired action. This is another practiced habit, just like meditation and mindfulness. If inspiration is important to you, and it should be, then you may want to consider making a practice of aligning with it. Why is inspiration so important? Inspiration can lead to an abundance of energy, creative output, learning, and feeling excited, in the flow, tuned in, and joyful about what you're doing. The vibrational state of being that is inspiration will attract more manifestations to you that inspire you, and your momentum can then pick up and increase, allowing you to more fully align with your inner being and live the purpose-based, inspired life you were called here to live. Your joy will seem untouchable by any outside circumstance or person, and because you know how to attract more amazing things to yourself, you can remain tuned in to these joyful energies for the majority of your life in this 3D reality, keeping up with the flow of your desired frequencies and minimizing the rest. So, how do you tap into inspiration on purpose? Here are 5 ideas and insights to get you started. 1. Inspired action isn't always about sitting down to be creative and write or create something tangible from your ideas. Sometimes inspired action, taken due to feeling inspirational energy, can seem mundane and even silly. However, when you're tapped into source energy, your inner being will direct you and nudge you and give you hints and signs and all sorts of synchronicities in order to point you in the right direction. When you feel the nudge to go clean your kitchen or go for a walk, follow it. You may be surprised at the result for one reason or another. It could be as benign as finding a lost item you stopped searching for weeks or months ago, or as profound as happening upon a person you had been thinking about because you were inspired to walk your dog in a different part of town. No matter the result, inspired action will always lead you somewhere because it is your inner being's way of calling out to you. 2. If you're new to this or have a hard time getting into a relaxed state of being so that you can align with inspirational energy, then you may want to try meditating for 10 to 20 minutes. If you're an experienced meditator, you may find it helpful to sit and focus on something monotonous until an inspired idea comes to you. This usually lies well beyond the initial surface-level thoughts that meditation helps to quiet. So once your monkey mind has calmed down, you can then more easily relax into an inspired state and wait patiently and openly for the idea to manifest within you. When you feel the nudge from within, you will know it, and you will know exactly what you want to do. Go do it, and try to do it before your ego mind kicks in and reminds you of all your responsibilities and what you should be doing. This is the ego's way of manipulating you back into 3D and away from your soul, where the ego can remain in charge and you stop listening to your inner being. Do what you feel inspired to do, even if it's as simple as cleaning out your car or whatever the case might be. And wherever your day leads you after that, if you keep following your inspiration, you will be led to all sorts of little miracles. Paying attention to these little miracles and appreciating them opens the door for more miracles to make their way into your experience. 3. Inspiration isn't just about creating things. It is also about making intuitive decisions and building utmost trust in yourself and your inner being's divine guidance. Without trust, there's nothing. And whom should you trust? Yourself or everybody else? Your inner being knows exactly where you are at every given moment and is always calling out to you and encouraging you to follow your intuition toward your desires made manifest. When you first begin to trust yourself and listen to that inner guidance, your ego will be very skeptical and will try to talk you back down into 3D reality, where the physical perception of all that is around us is labeled as the only truth, the only reality. Just like any given religion will claim to be the only truth to keep its followers fearful and subservient. Our senses are extremely limited in their ability to perceive things, and those of us who truly believe in the things we cannot see with our physical eyes and interpret with our physical brain have a sense of knowing about the hidden layers of reality beneath our perceived one. This knowing is developed after a sense of trust is established between you and your soul or inner being, and after your physical body stops resisting the incapacitation of the ego through fight or flight reactions. At this point, your physical brain and ego mind become tools for your inner being, as they were always intended to be. Tools within a vessel to ensure an incredible and robust life experience in this physical time-space reality, so that our soul can then expand and evolve on its eternal journey. 4. This is very much a personal opinion, but I have found it extremely beneficial to continuously expose myself to new information, ideas, skills, music, food, and so on. An incredible side effect of this is that I often get inspired or led to new inspiration and knowledge as I explore online or read a book. Independent study has always been automatic for me, as it probably has been for many of you as well, and I tend to soak up anything that I find interesting, intriguing, or don't know about yet. This might also help you to explore new music, try new foods, expand your knowledge on a topic, or do some self-study. You may even consider learning an entirely new skill, language, or how to play an instrument. This can only give you more depth of understanding about everything in existence. It's an amazing feeling to learn something new or to surprise yourself with your capacity for understanding a topic that maybe you had a hard time wrapping your mind around in the past. This is all part of your growth as a human being and as a soul. The more we can understand and remain open, the more our wisdom and depth of knowledge will grow. 5. Not all inspiration comes from your inner being, but this is an excellent method for getting into the zone and aligning with your inner being's energetic frequency. If you aren't sure how to get inspired by just beginning a task or hobby, then there's a good chance you haven't figured out what it is you're meant to be doing yet. Explore new activities, hobbies, and fields of study so that you can learn more about your own interests and gifts that you're meant to share. It will oftentimes have something to do with your past experiences and life lessons, your existing skill set, or a skill or hobby you were passionate about as a child. The thing to pay attention to the most is how doing this activity makes you feel. Do you zone out? Get lost? Does time disappear because you're having so much fun? Do you stay super focused, effortlessly? This is how you know you've really got something epic to offer the world, because time jumps in and out of existence and your perception of it is skewed, which indicates that you're jumping between dimensions and more apt to feel your connection to every version of yourself in existence across time and space. Like so many other ideas surrounding inner work, inspiration can seem like a magical, inexplicable thing until you take a closer look at it. Once we are able to gain a deeper understanding of how everything works and is connected, we can more easily understand that inspiration can be tuned into like a radio station. And when we practice doing these things on a regular basis, our entire life changes for the better because we are consistently performing and creating from a high vibrational state. This is the ultimate goal for so many of us, a happy, inspired, creative existence with more than enough for the necessary comforts and the ability to better help and serve others. Inspiration is one way in which a daily practice and strong foundation of habits can propel you forward, especially for those of us who are empaths, lightworkers, starseeds, earth angels, or any other similar label that you might identify with. For those of us actively involved in our spiritual awakening process who also know that self-care is paramount to our success, this cannot be ignored. You can try, but I promise you that no matter how often you fall off the wagon, so to speak, you will always find your way back because you can't unknow what you now know. That inner knowing, once awoken, doesn't just vanish again if you keep eating meat and drinking alcohol and keep yourself trapped in the physical constraints of this existence. Remember that all of that physical stuff doesn't matter nearly as much as your vibrational state of being because the physical world is like an echo of what already exists energetically. So the layers of epiphany will continue to peel back for you no matter what, but resisting it may cause more discomfort than just going with it. You may want to numb yourself out constantly because of uncomfortable emotions, but it ultimately won't stop those emotions from coming to the surface eventually, so why prolong the process? This emotional purging process clears your vessel of any energetic blockages that might be getting in the way of the flow of divine energy throughout your being and the entirety of existence. So this process is important, especially if your body is getting prepared to ascend. Some thoughts on the ascension or spiritual awakening, just to be clear. Although the terms being used to describe this awakening or ascension process have a tendency to be perceived as esoteric, new agey, mystical, magical, or other strong human-made word labels that discredit the idea to physically focused lower consciousness humans, the existence of other dimensions has already been proven scientifically and explained in various different ways through various different theories. Just like the truth of spirituality must be uncovered and peeled back, so must the truth of scientific evidence be uncovered. So the higher a human being's level of consciousness, the more likely they will be to make all the proper connections of knowledge with scientific as well as spiritual perspectives for the ultimate understanding of the universe from a scientific and spiritual perspective combined. Finally, you may or may not know it, but each and every decision you make throughout any given day allows you to jump between different dimensions. With infinite dimensions and possibilities all existing simultaneously, because the only thing that makes time linear to us is our perception of it, we travel through so-called alternate dimensions on a very regular basis. These dimensional jumps can be circumstantially evidenced by things such as déjà vu, the Mandela effect, items disappearing and reappearing in strange places where you would never put them, remembering certain events or circumstances differently from someone else, and other similar phenomena. Knowing this, we can begin to understand that there literally are no limitations for us or our lives. None. Anything is possible, and chances are that you have a passion or dream or ambition that you've been wanting to pursue for your entire life and were discouraged about pursuing. Am I right? While the grown-ups in our lives as children usually meant well and were sincerely convinced that they were protecting us or looking out for our best interests, you were probably told things such as, make sure you have a backup plan, and don't be too disappointed if it doesn't work out, or make sure you have a job to pay the bills before you go after your dreams so you're at least making money. It's almost like each and every concern is wrapped up in money, not in how someone is feeling, what they're currently experiencing, or what they're excited or inspired or passionate about, what makes them feel alive rather than feeling stuck in survival mode. All anybody seems to give a shit about is money, which communicates to children on a subconscious level that we don't matter unless we have money, which is ridiculous, not to mention extremely damaging to the spirit. Over the course of many generations, human beings have lost touch with Source, God, their souls, spirits, inner beings, or whatever other label you want to place on it. How does this happen? Through conditioning, of course. Monkey see, monkey do. And because we have allowed our ego minds to run the show while our souls sleep in the back seat, that is what people tend to do. Follow the status quo. Now mix in some fear conditioning, societal conditioning, religious brainwashing through guilt trips and the occasional holy war, and you've got the recipe for, oh, look, it's the recipe for the world we see now, full of division and war and bullies, without any viable help for decent people who are in crisis situations or any other kind of transition. Now, many of us find ourselves waking up, ascending to a higher awareness and level of consciousness, and this ultimately reconnects us with our inner being, soul, or source energy. An awakening of the masses has become an evolutionary necessity for human beings, simply because we are right on the verge of choosing either extreme and permanent self-destruction or self-preservation through growth or evolution and an expansion in consciousness. This can be seen reflected in our current events as well as in the lives of many individuals, not to mention in the natural disasters we have experienced worldwide and will likely continue to experience for some time. The entire planet is in transition, and when you awaken, the connections begin to become obvious and you begin to understand how it is all connected. As above, so below. As within, so without. The big picture reflecting the smaller picture, your outer life reflecting your inner life back to you. It is all connected. Because it is all connected, but we cannot have control by force or try to control anything outside of ourselves, we must learn to help change the world by changing ourselves from within. This is all energetic inner work and doesn't look like much to anyone on the outside. But think about what an epiphany or revelation feels like from your perspective when you have one. It shakes the very foundation of your perception of reality sometimes, but to anyone outside of yourself, it just looks like another Tuesday. To you, it feels like a massive shift, but it looks like nothing from the outside. Why in the world would we ever want to give our power away to anyone outside of ourselves if they can't even grasp the enormity of one of our epiphanies and how exciting it is to uncover something like that? Not only that, but when we go to share our excitement with them, they respond by completely invalidating our emotions and minimizing the impact of the realization, thus programming us into thinking that what we get from inspiration doesn't matter and no one cares about our true selves, our souls. This is why it is so important for each of us to go within and discover our true power, not rely on outside perspectives to inadvertently lie to us about our own experiences and further condition us into submission. All of the answers you will ever need, all of the knowledge and connection and love you can ever imagine, you have access to all of this within you. By going within and paying attention to your emotions, living consciously, and cultivating your faith and self-awareness, you are realigning with source energy and allowing your life to become what it was always meant to be, truly yours. Inspiration is a bridge to your inner world, your inner being, your soul, source energy. Cultivating inspiration and inspired action on purpose allows you to gain further insight into how things actually work behind the scenes on an energetic level, rather than only paying attention to what's happening on a physical level. Choosing this path is like choosing to pull back the curtain and see the inner workings of an elaborate machine made of infinite types of energy, vibrations, and frequencies, composed of infinite parts and pieces of various sizes, some as big as the universe, and others as tiny as subatomic particles that are ultimately made of one thing: energy. Thank you so much for listening. Namaste, my friends. Love and light to you all. If you liked this article, please head on over to mindfulhealingpress.com for more, and to my YouTube channel if you would like to subscribe. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next video.